Hey everybody, it's Sonia Paz. I just wanted to do a quick little video so you can see how I am using my 12 color acrylic paint set that I supply for most of my artistic classes that I'm doing, and show you how I'm doing some fun color mixing. So what I'm going to show you first of all is when you get the creative kit and you get the 12 colors, you'll notice that there is no brown color, but I'm going to show you how to do an improvised brown color just by color mixing. I'm also going to show you how to make some different tones with your sky that would go well for water or for sky imagery, and so you're not using it right out of the tube. These paints are super high in pigment, especially the black, the purple, and the blues, and the viridian color. These are really, really deep, dark colors, and you'll see on these sample papers that I'm going to show you on. But first things first is when you open up your little tube, you're going to see that you have this little foil thing. There's a little tab here. You just simply pull that off, and you have your paints all ready to go. Okay, I'm using a pre-loved mixing palette. This is just a paper plate that I'm using, and it has so I'm gonna just pour this on here. And as you see, this is start off with the primary yellow, which comes out, it's super buttery and creamy. I'm going to tell you right now that I do not use those folk art craft paint or paint barrel or whatever they're called, craft paints, only because they are basically this with a lot of water in it, and they don't get a lot of good coverage. So this is why I lean toward kits like this, because it is a good beginner set that will get you started and get you introduced to super buttery, creamy paints. So I'll start off with, I'll just show you a little bit about how I'm gonna lighten up some of these colors. So I have my yellow, and as you see right out of the gate, it is super pigmented. If I add, and you're gonna go probably through a lot of the white, so if you take your white, and put this, I'm just gonna put this right next to it here. And if you don't have a paper plate, just grab one. I'm gonna take a little bit of that white, and I'm not gonna mix it together. I'm just gonna grab a little bit here, a little bit there. And as you can see, I have white and yellow. And this is going to start making, grab a little more white. This is gonna start making more of a light sunshiny color. Not sure if you can see it well on camera, but it's lightening it up, and it's just giving you some different tones. If you keep adding more white, you're gonna get more tones that are lighter, obviously. So here's kind of a quick little sample. Now, I'm using a very inexpensive brush. The brush that you would get with this kit are going to be a fine detailed brush like this. And of course I cannot find, it's gonna be similar to this brush here, but this one is one of the brushes, you can see this is going on like 5 years old. So it's pretty worn out, but you're gonna have a much nicer version of that. So now for colors like the blue, let me show you something here. You're going to lay down a little bit of blue here, and I don't do this on the paper. I don't do any color mixing itself really on the paper. I will do it right on my paper plate. Where'd my white go? There we go. And I'm gonna just place this right next to it. This way you can sort of audition the color mixing. And what I mean by that is I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna grab a little bit of the white here, place it over there, grab a little bit of the blue, and I will mix those together. And as you see, I'm starting to get a lighter blue color, which will do really nicely like this. So if you're going to be doing it right out of the gate, you'll notice this is way too dark. Let me rinse that off and I'll show you. This is way too dark. And don't forget that acrylic paints are water soluble. So these are very heavy in color. You can even add to that if the water, and you can lighten that up by just adding in a little bit of white. If you realize you still need more, as long as the paint is still wet, you can still tone that down. Grab a little more, and it's getting lighter and lighter and lighter. Perfect for skies. If you don't want your sky to be very dark, add more white. So I'm going to just kind of come in and I'm going to add in the white. And as you see, it's really light. If you really want to just keep mixing, you can, and you'll notice that you get some nice blends. If you want to get more of a gradation from this, just grab a little bit more blue, kind of add that to this, and lightly come down, and you'll have a nice little graduation from lighter to dark. All right, we'll let that dry. But you can do this with the purples or the violet. You can do this with your viridian. This is a beautiful color. Let me set these aside. This is a really beautiful color. It could be as light as a beautiful sea teal color, or as deep as a deeper aqua. And I'm telling you all, a little goes a long, long way. So I'll grab my white again. All right, so I got some white here. I'll grab a little bit of that white, and I'm gonna add it right to my viridian. Now I've added a bit here right on my paper plate, and as you can tell, this is a beautiful kind of a teal aqua color. It's very, very light. You wanna add a little bit more. I can add that right here, and you can just tell that it's just beautiful. Now, adding just a little tiny bit of blue, and I'm not gonna rinse off my brush, but I got a little bit of blue. I can mix that together with the viridian and get a very lovely color blend. And these two are cool colors, which means the blues, the greens, the violets, those are cool colors. And the warm colors are obviously your oranges, your red, your magenta, and the yellows. So you end up with a nice blend. So you can tell that this is quite lovely. I might add a little bit more here, and I'm just kind of mixing that right into the blue. So I'm having a graduation of color, which will complement any sky, any areas where there's bodies of water in your artwork. So now, I can do the same thing with the magenta and the purple. I'll just show you this, and then I'll show you some green colors. So I'm gonna just lay down just a drop of the violet, because a little goes a long way, and a drop of the magenta there. So it might be hard for you to see because I have this very well-loved thing, and I'm telling you, this weighs probably about 7 ounces. It's pretty heavy. Lots of dried paint. So always, whenever you rinse your brush out, just always make sure it comes out clean on a paper towel. So adding in, I'm always gonna grab from the white first instead of adding the pink or the magenta to the white, because then you'll end up with a bunch of color here. So I'm gonna just kind of mix this together. And this goes from being a super deep magenta color to this beautiful kind of a light pink color. This is really nice. This is perfect for flowers. You can use this for, flowers or any accents where pink is prevalent. And here's the darker shade of the magenta. Much darker, as you can tell. So with your brushes, especially with this detailed brush here, you're going to get lots of areas where you can get detailed. The tip of this brush is very pointed, so I'm gonna wet that first, blot off any extra water, and as you can see, I'll grab a little bit, and you always wanna just use it on the tip of the brush, and you can get some very nice lines at it. You don't wanna be smashing the brush and doing this. You don't wanna do anything that's going to disturb the point of this brush. This is why taking care of your brushes, and then when you wipe them off like this. You don't wanna wipe them off or smash them. You wanna keep this tip as beautiful and pointy as possible. So and I'll do the same thing. I'll grab a little bit of white and I'll move over to the purple color, the violet, and you can tell that this is, I don't even have that much white on there, so let me go ahead and just add more, and you can get more of a lavender color, which is quite nice. So mix always on just a piece of paper. You don't need anything like what I have here. You can use just a piece of, you know, copy paper like this. It doesn't matter. Scratch paper, if you get mail, which I'm sure people still get lots of mail. Envelopes from the mail are perfect for this type of testing the colors and just checking out what tones come out. Now, even though there is this pretty bright yellow green in the Royal Langnickel set, I tend to like these two together, these two and white together. So this is the primary yellow, the cadmium green, and these work beautifully, especially for tropical flowers, and you can adjust those tones quite nicely. So if you put a little bit of green and you put a little bit of the primary yellow, I mean, you could use this cadmium yellow, but I tend to like the combination of these two colors together. It's a cool color and a warm color. So here, I'm just gonna do that. I will take my brush with a little scoop of white, kind of lay that down, and I'm going to mix this together. And I'm not mixing it into one giant blob. As you see that I have different little glazes. You can see the white, you can see the yellow, and you can see the green. And the reason I like to do that is because when you're laying these down, especially for leaves, you end up with some beautiful little streaks of color. Doesn't have to be fancy, just kind of ending up like this. Take a little bit of the white and just let it go. You'll see that you have some natural brush strokes, and when you're doing any type of flowers or any type of leaves, you don't want to go left to right. You want to just keep with the grain of what the natural shape of that leaf would be. So, but you can see that there's some nice little shades of color in here, some light green. If you want it to be a little bit more limey, add a little bit more yellow to it. And as you can tell, it really adds some beautiful colors to that. Now, I wanted to keep this video short, so I will just show you a quick little tutorial here on how to get a brown color. And it's just a bit of happy color mixings here. So let me grab a new little swatch. And I'm going to take a bit of the primary magenta, and since I grabbed some of that before, I'll lay that down. I'm gonna grab a little bit of the cadmium red. These are all little warm colors. And a little bit of white. Oh, and the violet. So the violet right out of the tube. So you can see that I'm laying all three of these colors next to each other. And you can adjust accordingly. So if you end up taking these three colors, adding just a little bit of white, you're going to end up getting a shade of brown. It's going to be dark. This one actually has come out to be a little bit more of a deep violet color. So not quite a brown, but a deep, deep violet. But if I add in a little bit of viridian, just a tiny little bit, add just a tiny little bit, just and sample it here. Just put a little bit here. Oops, I dipped it right into the purple. Don't want to do that. So I'll just put a little viridian here, just a little. And I will mix that in just a small bit. And I can see that it's getting darker. And then maybe just, let's test it here. That came out a way bit more aubergine, which is actually pretty. And I'll show you what happens, just since we have that color. If I add in a little white, you'll see how pretty this turns out. Look at that. That's lovely. And it's different. It's a different shade than what we did with that other purple. But anyway, back to making this brown. I'm going to add in more of the cadmium yellow at this point. Just about like that. And this should really do it. So adding this in here, mixing this thoroughly. Ah, here comes the brown. Beautiful, beautiful. There we go. Look at that. Beautiful brown with just those colors. And yours will be smoother. This isn't the best brush here, but I just sat down and grabbed that. If you wanted to make that lighter, grab a little bit of yellow and look at the beautiful shades. Color mixing is fun, everyone. Have no fear. It is a wonderful thing to learn and understand. So what I used again was I used the red, the violet, and the primary magenta. I mixed those together. It wasn't quite enough. I added in just a spot of the viridian. That came up with more of a deeper aubergine color, like an eggplant color. And then I balanced it out with that primary yellow, which gave us this beautiful shades of brown. So for anything like palm trees or tree trunks or light mountains or anything, this is a way to do it with this kit that doesn't come with a brown, so that you can properly just kind of adjust and have fun. One last thing I just wanted to mention is the black paint in this kit is very high in pigment as well. So, and it's very thick. So here's a couple of quick little tidbits and tips for this, is that since it is so thick, I'm adding just a tiny little bit of water to loosen that up just a little bit. And you'll see once I do this, you'll see it's just loosened up so that you get some nice coverage. It is not super thick. It's harder for beginners to learn with really, really thick, and the black paint in this tends to come out. It's very concentrated. So a little goes a long way, and you get some great coverage. One thing I want to mention, with this thin brush, if you take that light watered down black, you could do some little outlines if you wanted to with your brush. Not mandatory, just optional if you felt comfortable. It is something that once you decide to do the outline, you're kind of committed. But you can do an outline of your leaf with darker green. So if you wanted to take this and use, let's say this green mix that we did, I'm going to add just a tiny bit of water to it, just a little bit, and wipe off some of that. You could do an outline just like that. So it's going to be, and when in doubt, reload your brush with a clean application. There we go. So we end up with some lines like this and lines like this that are manageable. And just to loosen up those paints and adding just a little bit of water, if they are too thick, you end up getting some nice little details. So there you go. Outlines are great. Practice first, commit, and have fun. Enjoy.